Okay, so we're going to create this first widget. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and bring a reference up here so that we can have it up here, and it'll float in here while we're modeling. So you can just grab the image and float it in here. Okay, just checking my snaps to make sure they're set on grid. And the way I'm going to build this, I'm going to start with the spline. Okay, I'm kind of a spline modeler. A lot of people don't do it this way, but it's okay. I'm going to show you different ways. Okay, I'm drawing an n-gon, and the reason I'm drawing an n-gon is because I can determine how many sides, and that base is basically a triangle, so I'll just cut it to 3 sides. I'm turning my snap on so that I can rotate it, and now I've got basically what that base is a triangle. So now that I've got it, I'm going to go ahead and convert it to a spline. So it's now going to be a primitive spline, and then I can add some points to it. Since this piece is bowed out a little bit, I want to add some additional points to it. I can manually add them, but inside of Max, there's a divide function in here where I can tell it how many I want to divide it into, and I can just leave the default of 1. That's all I need. Okay, so now I'm going to grab all of the vertices because by default they're Beziers, and I'm going to turn them into corners. And then I'm going to grab these 3 and I'm going to scale. Now, it'll initially default to scale from their center, and I'm changing it to scale from a center between them. And then I can scale that out. Now, I'm building where it's going to be kind of chunky because we're going to subdivide this so it'll smooth back out. And that scaling this out will give me the little bow on each side. And then I'm going to chamfer those. And then I need to chamfer these corners a little bit. And that'll give me the kind of the basic shape. That's kind of chunky, but that's the way it's supposed to be because it'll smooth later. Okay, at this point, this is done. I can go ahead and convert it to an editable poly once you make it into a 3-dimensional mesh. Now, of course, I say 3-dimensional. It's still a flat plane right now. So I hit F3 to put my shading on. I need to put a shader on here, so I'm going to get a standard shader. I'm going to darken it just a little bit, and I'm going to give it some specular level, something around 70, a little glossy, something around 20, something like that, and apply that. That'll allow me to see some highlights on it once I started getting it 3D. Okay, so what I'm going to do now it's just one big polygon, and so what we're going to do is an inset on it. And you'll see when I do those insets now, I've got quads around it. So this inside part's not a quad, but that the outside part is a quad. So I'm pulling it in about the distance that it would need to be for our reference. And I'm going to put my ribbon up here. And the reason I'm going to do that is I want to click on this geopoly, which will turn that into a round shape that when it's subdivided, it'll be completely round for our inside piece. And then I'm using a swift loop in here to put an extra loop through here where I can put those holes in there. Okay, I need some extra geometry in there. So now what I'm going to do is I don't need that centerpiece anymore right now, so I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to select these outside edges where the holes are going to be, and then I'm going to ring those, which will select what's in between it. And then I can hit a connect, and that gives me a center point for where I'm going to put the hole. So I'm just creating a center point in there. And now I'm going to grab the vertex that's going to be the center of all those. And I can do this all at the same time. And I'm going to do a chamfer. So the others are doing it at the same time. I'm just focusing on this one. Okay, I'm selecting these as polygons, and then I'm holding the control key down, and then I can move it to an edge selection, which is what I want to do. And now I can connect those. Now what I'm going to do is scale. So I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go to my scale settings. I need to make sure this is everything's on their own centers, and the magic number is 142. We're scaling it out. Oops. Okay. Let's undo that. And I picked their own centers. I don't know why I didn't stay on that. Okay, let's do that again. 142. There you go. Okay. I don't know how I got this little line in here, but I'm just going to select that and backspace it out of there. Okay, so now I just need to pick these little corners and connect those. The polys didn't quite understand how I wanted to finish that out, and that's why it turned black, so just kind of have to ignore that. And then I'm connecting these, and then I can pick that center part and delete it. So these, just connecting all these to make them quads. By the way, once I hit the connect, I just got to hit the little bar at the top and it'll connect those. And we need to do that for all these pieces. So now we'll just put a mesh smooth on here, 3 iterations. It could be a mesh smooth or a turbo smooth. And now you can kind of see the shape that we're starting to get. I need to pull these corners out just a little bit to be a little bit more pointy. So I'll select them all and just scale them out just a little bit. And that should be a little closer to our piece. That's pretty darn close to what we need. Okay, let's swing it around 3DZ. And now we're going to select all the borders. Switch to a perspective view. J turns off that bounding box. G turns off the grid. And I don't want that gradient in the background. I want a solid background, so I turn the gradient background off. So we just hit move, hold down your shift key, and pull down. And now we'll give some depth to this. I'm going to pull it down a little bit deeper than I need because later I'll come in and drop the bottom in. Okay, so now it's too smooth, but that's okay. We're going to put locking loops in later, but that's giving me my basic shape. Looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to put a little loop through here, which will solidify it a little bit so we can see that edge a little bit sharper. And I'm turning off F4 to turn the wireframe off so we can see it just shaded. So that looks pretty good. We need to do that to the top. So what I'm going to do to the top is I'm going to ignore back facing and by angle, which allows me to select anything basically that's flat. So I'll select that whole top, and then I'm going to do an inset to put my other locking loop on the other side. And let's see what, I turn those back off, and let's see what that looks like. And now you can see I've crisped that edge up quite a bit. That looks better. Okay, so I'm grabbing this border. Then I'm going to scale this in holding the shift key, which will start the inside piece. Okay, now I don't want, I'm going to split this. So I'm picking this whole edge, double clicking, and then I'm going to go down and I'm going to click the split, which will turn this into 2 elements. And the reason I'm doing that, see, it's 2 different elements, is I don't want that little split in the side right there. I don't want that, and it's on each side. There's one there. I'm holding down my control key to add to that. And then I'm going to hold down the control backspace to take those out of there, because the inside piece has got to be completely round. And so that will cause it where I can't make that round, because they have to, each side has to be exactly the same width, has to be the same size. So I'm holding down my shift key now. I grab border and I'm pulling it up to give me my little wedge piece that I need, where it's this tube is starting to go up, and then I'm going to scale that in a little bit. Looks like it's a little tall, so I'm pull it back down a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, I'm holding the shift key down, and then I'm dragging it up to give me the top of that shaft. If it's not perfectly the same height, I can fix that later. So now I'm going to scale, hold down the shift to give me some thickness, and then hold down the move, hold down the shift, and move it down. I'm moving it down further than when I need. I'll come back and adjust that later. Okay, so that gives me my basic shape there. And there it is, smoothed. Okay, starting to look pretty good. Okay, needs to put some locking loops in. Looks like to me these holes are way too big, so I need to come in here and readjust those. So I'm going to go back down to polygon and select, I'm holding control and then shift. Okay. Control lets me add one here. So control, click on one of these, then hold down the shift to click the next one. Same up here. Control and then shift. Okay, grab all that, and I need to grow that. I want to get the little locking loop too. So now I'm going to come to the top. I'm going to do my scale, and I'm making sure everything's on its own pivot point. So that top one is everything on its own pivot point. So as I scale this one, all the others are scaling at the same time to get that hole down smaller. Now I'm doing a selection set. So if I have it all selected and I type a name in up here and I hit enter, then it'll remember that. So later I can come back and click that and reselect those. So it's kind of a temporary selection in case I need to come back later and size them again. Okay, those holes look pretty good. It's much better size. Okay, so like I said, I'm hitting F4 to turn off the wire periodically to look at it. Okay, I need to solidify this in here, so I'm picking that edge and I'm double clicking on it to select it all the way around. And then I can come in here and I can put a chamfer or an extrude. I'm going to do a extrude, and I need both of these to be zeroed out. So zero both of those out, and then to pull the bottom one just a little bit, and that'll put locking loops all the way through that. Crisp that up. And then I need to do a similar thing. Yeah, see, that's much nice and crisper down in there. And then I need to do a similar thing on this edge, but this one I'm going to use a chamfer because I want it to be a little bit softer. So I need 2 rings in here and then a little bit broader because it's not as crisp an edge as what I needed down below. And then that'll get me that little crisper edge. It's not totally crisp, but it's pretty good. I need to sharpen this top edge up too because it's kind of just rounding into mush. So let's double click on the inside and the outside. And then let's do the extrude on that, which is referred to as a sharp chamfer. And the setting I already have, it'll keep the last setting, and that setting's looking pretty good. So I'll just set that in, and then that'll hold that shape better. See the nice little highlight we're getting on the edge of that? That's one of the reasons we build subdivision services. We get this nice manufactured, rounded, filleted edge. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save this. I probably should have already saved it beforehand. You need to save every few minutes or so because you're going to mess things up. So don't do as I do. Save more often. Okay, so now I'm going to put a symmetry modifier on it because I've got to get this bottom piece. And I can do it manually, but it's going to be easier to me if I do this through a symmetry. Symmetry just basically mirrors it, makes an echo of it. Okay, now I can see that that's about the thickness I need, but I'm losing my inside piece if I do it that way. So I need to adjust that inside piece. See how if I pull it down, I can keep my inside piece. That inside piece needs to be moved up a little bit. So I'm going to come back down to my base. Yeah, I just need to grab that little inset that's on the inside, and I need to pull it up a little bit. So I'm going to select by angle, and I'm going to select that. And I think I need to grow that one to get that little ring around the inside on the little tube. And now just pull that up a little bit. Probably something about like that will probably work. Okay, so let's just adjust my symmetry, pull it up a little bit. Yeah, so now I can get it to close around the edge, but I'm not losing that inside piece now. Okay, that's better. Look at it smooth. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to the symmetry, and I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to click collapse to. That means it'll collapse up to that point, but it won't embed that mesh smooth into it. And now it's all one piece. Okay, now I'm going to delete this bottom half. Yep, that's grabbing the whole inside too. We don't want to do that. Okay, so let's do it this way. Let's select this by angle, select that bottom piece, and then delete that. Okay, and then I can select that piece by angle. That's, need to grow that one more ring and delete it. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, I need to grab that border. Okay, I need to pick that. And by angle, delete that. Okay. Okay, so that's flat. And I don't need to lap that by angle. Okay, grab this, hold down the shift, ring that all the way around, delete that. Okay, this little lip is an element. I can pick it, delete that. Okay, so now I need to connect across these. So with correct that border, this border, and do a bridge. Where is my bridge? Oh, it's in edit borders closed. Okay, and then bridge that. It's got a twist in it. Let's see what the deal is. Oh, it's these little splits that are for the holes that's causing it to twist that way. So I need to remove this little piece here. So just holding the control backspace. I need to do that to all three of those edges. And then the other one there. Okay. So now I can grab these two borders and bridge them. Yeah, there we go. Okay, then I want to put a chamfer on this edge so it doesn't round too much. So double click on that edge, chamfer, 2 iterations. Oops. Didn't quite hit the, let's do that again. And there, I got it. Okay. And then that'll smooth that. And that'll look pretty good. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Got the bottom of that. And that's a pretty good shape. I don't need these center lines that are in here, so it's excess geometry. Double click, backspace, holding down the control key. Same on these inside of these holes, so I can eliminate some excess geometry in there that was put in there when I did the symmetry, but I don't need that anymore. So it's just double click the edge, control, backspace. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. Looks pretty good. I think the proportions are off a little bit, but it's not too bad. I think for this first one, it's close enough. I'm going to lighten this a little bit. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. And that's a simple widget subdivision surfaces. Hope that helped you out, guys.